The tools exist: generative design, digital twins, bio-integrated systems. But tools without vision are nothing more than expensive toys. The magic happens when human imagination meets experiences that are yet to be defined. When we stop asking what's next and start asking what if. These are the conversations that reshape life on the water. This is Rethink's Night Out.
In the 19th and the 20th century, the word computer was a job title. It was typically done by women and considered clerical work. As such, they would receive half a man's pay and no authorial credit. Yet their work was instrumental in advancing space exploration and astronomy. And then this happened. In a few short decades, we went from vacuum tubes in cabinets to silicon chips we could put in our homes and on our desks, even in our pockets. At the same time, we switched the compute from the CPU to the GPU and put tons of those together in data centers, all in order to achieve one thing. Now, from the outset, the idea for Zero has been that it needs to be smart about its energy management in order to deal with the limited energy that it has. And so tonight I'll talk about the way we're solving those problems using AI, and then we'll side quest into the future directions AI could take us. A common question in the modern era is, how long will my battery last? And that's also very applicable to Zero. In order to get an answer to those questions, Zero is equipped with many, many sensors. So we can measure the presence of gases in cabin, the outdoor temperature and the intensity of the sunlight, and many things more. Also, we can train an energy prediction model. And once we have that, we can inspect it to see which parameters matter most. And that can help guide future yacht design or inform the crew on which things actually matter for them to undertake. Once you have a model, it can also be a way to generate insights. Now, the other part of the energy equation is the hydrogeneration. The power on the thruster is proportional to the speed of the boat cubed. So a small increase in boat speed makes a massive difference in the power being generated. And that can make the difference between an extra day at anchor or having to go sailing. So this is a key area for us to focus on to optimize. So what we do whenever the boat goes sailing is we monitor, again, all the data. The positions of the cylinders, the loads on the stays, the wind and the waves. So the next time the boat is in a similar setting, we know which settings produce the best result. Then it's just a matter of feeding that back to the crew and letting them know when they've hit their mark. But that is not all. The moonshot for Zero is to have the boat trim itself. And while we don't expect to be beating race crews anytime soon, the ability to go sailing automatically just makes it that much more convenient for the crew to relax, and it might even make it possible to sail the boat at night. Then onto the air conditioning. Bob talked about this a bit. And when guests leave their cabin, it can be very beneficial for us to turn the AC off and on again, but it could also be a loss. So there we can employ model predictive control to model both situations and choose the one with the best outcome. Bob also talked about the PVT panels harvesting heat. And the trick there is knowing what to do with that. And like a game of chess, it can be beneficial to sacrifice a pawn in order to capture a queen. But for all of these things, we need one thing, and that is data. We won't be done when Zero hits the water, and neither will Zero. So we're happy to get back to you with the results once we have them, maybe in a year or two. So for the rest of this talk, I'd like to talk about the future directions we could see AI taking us in yachting. Over the last century, we've spent a lot of time automating our assembly lines. But a lot of custom manufacturing still relies heavily on human labor. So I would pose the question to you, could AI enable us to do to bespoke manufacturing what we did to automation? Could we perhaps automate automation? Now, the first problem to solve there is one of communication. Computers don't understand engineering. They just follow the instructions they're given. So with automation, it has typically required a lot of effort to generate those instructions. But with AI, we could bring the understanding to the computer and have it solve that puzzle for us. And it could look something like this. We feed the drawings into the AI, and from that, we get a simulation of our system. And we also get the control logic in order to operate that system. And even the code to run that control logic against our simulation. And all of that we can do combined into an integrated 3D model, as Sandra from Goltens has shown us earlier this evening, with everything being in there, the welding, the cabling, the piping. Then it's just a matter of having our computer and robots actually manufacture that complex shape. But that brings with it its own challenge. Manufacturing any complex shape is a task of getting the tool in the correct position. And typically this has meant to add more axes to your robot. But that means having to figure out how all those axes need to move. But we're already seeing AI being used to solve that issue, both in CNC machining and 3D printing. But we don't need an ever-increasing amount of axes to our robots. Instead, we could have our AI let our robots collaborate, having one robot place the other in the right position for it to do its job, thereby possibly automating the whole construction. But while we're at it, let's go one step further. We have our 3D model completely defining our entire vessel. We can also prepare the cabling beforehand and put it in before the roof is even welded on. And the same goes for insulation, piping, ducting, the whole shebang. At the same time, we shouldn't be blind to the dangers of AI. So it's critical for all these innovations that the output of the AI can be verified, which it can be done either in simulation or on a scale model. So I hope tonight I've made you think about the futures AI could enable for yachting. And now to round off this story, let's get back to those women we started with. While some managed to transition their career into programming or engineering, many of them got stuck in their position as computer and were slowly pushed out over time as they became obsolete. Thank you for your time.